And in studio with me is i24 News Foreign Affairs correspondent Owen Alterman to discuss all the latest, and there's always so much to discuss from the campaign trail. First, I'd love your reaction to Trump's turnaround. What do you think about this new tactic, now saying he does believe that Obama was born in the States?
Well, first of all, how did this happen? It came up because the Washington Post interviewed Donald Trump in an interview that was published on Thursday. Trump not coming out and taking a strong position on this birther question, which just raised it again, forcing him to give a speech on Friday. I think Trump, or at least Trump's campaign, would have much preferred this have stayed on the sidelines and have stayed out of sight. Once it was raised, Trump had to address it. How effectively did he do it? Not clear, doesn't seem to have done it so effectively, and that may be a missed opportunity for him to reach out to those important suburban moderates, let alone African Americans.
And how will his followers see this inconsistency, in your opinion?
Well, his core followers, probably with him when he talked about the birther question, but will be with him until the end. But the real question for Trump and his campaign is how do they reach out to that middle? And they're very focused, especially on suburban voters, suburban women who don't like to vote for a candidate who's tarnished with racism. So this was targeted at them as much as anyone. But again, because Trump's statement was not as unequivocal as it could have been, also implicating Hillary Clinton, took away some of the tarnish of what he was trying to achieve, and he might not have hit his goal, and in fact helped him to lose momentum after a week when he's just gained in the polls.
Indeed, and it's incredible how he's able to stay on the front pages and in the headlines. We mentioned earlier in the studio the attack in New York and how this could affect the presidential race as well as the discussions surrounding it. What's your take? Is this going to play to Trump's advantage as long as security is at the forefront?
Well, let's take a step back and go back to June and the Orlando attacks. We talked about then how this might affect, how that attack might affect the election. My statement at the time and my position at the time was that it might not have a long-term effect because there was still a lot of time before the election. There were a lot of news cycles to be had, and the issue would just fade into the background. I think that's mostly been true, but now we're in September. It's a different story, and as I've always said, a terror attack close in time to the election that had mass casualties could have a dramatic impact on the race. Now, this still is September, not only October, and thankfully doesn't seem like anyone's been killed in this attack, so it hasn't quite met that standard, but certainly will have more of an effect than if it had happened in June, let alone March. Now, how will it affect? The academic research in this says two things. Number one, terror attacks tend to help incumbents, but there's no incumbent in this race, and there's no evidence that the incumbent's party benefits. Who does benefit? No surprise, more conservative, more right-wing candidates. In fact, there's academic research out of the Hebrew University to support this, using Israeli elections as a precedent. So on its face, this would seem to help Trump, but how much does this noise and how much does it signal? How much does it stand out from the average day-to-day of a news cycle? That's what we'll have to wait and see.
And we'll see how much this becomes part of the news cycle until the election and following the debates. Owen Alterman, unfortunately, that's all the time we have. Thank you very much for weighing in today.